Hi, my name is Ashley, and you're watching Visions for a Child's Heart.
Heavenly mothers crying, seas of children are dying at the hands of the other child. I know her heart is breaking, feel the earth is shaking, but rivers flow from the tears she cries. She cries, she cries. See Rachel's weeping for her children. Rachel's weeping. Somehow someone's got to save them. Save the children. And if you say that love the answer, why don't we begin? Or will we just
Hi, this is Missy, and welcome to Visions for a Child's Heart. You may have seen our last broadcast when I guess was Miss Ashley Grieve, and she talked about having been a former foster youth and becoming a foster parent herself. So she is still with us, and what we're going to talk about during this time is just the whole process of her becoming the person that she has become, having gone to school, earned a degree, and finding what it is that she holds on to, that she can share with other children that got her through, as the song says, How I Got Over. So welcome back, Ashley.
Thank you.
Great. So I know that when we talked, you said that you are a poet.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that gift develop?
I started in junior high by force, some class that I was taking,
Okay.
and then eventually throughout high school I started doing different recitals through the school. My English class had a little competition, and then I did a speech one time at it was some sort of non-violent awareness seminar sort of thing. A lot of parents came out who had lost children in drunk driving incidents and those type of things, so I was able to say a speech at that time. And once I got to college, it became a regular thing. So every month we had a poetry jam at my university, and I was performing every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there a general theme that most of your poetry seems to center around, or is it just a whole hodgepodge?
At one time it was all type of different topics, but now it's really kind of leaned towards spiritual.
Wow.
Just all of it.
So your spiritual life is your anchor.
Yes.
Yes. When did that become an important part of your life?
It's been important for a very long time, but working at actually practicing it or perfecting it has been something that's happened over the last 7 to 8 years.
Wow. And it's interesting, I like that you make that distinction, because most people say, oh, well, I've been in church all my life. You know, like, well, just being in church, and I'm actually saying church because I know a little bit about your religious affiliation, but we have people of all different faiths and religions. But most people who go to church just look at it as going to church. And I think a lot of us who grew up in church, there was a point where it became more than church. It became a relationship. So it sounds like that's when things really shifted for you, when you really saw things in a different perspective and start to walk it out and integrate it into your daily life.
I would say that church did contribute to a certain extent, but it was also, growing up I was really depressed, and so I would just hide away in my room and just scribble stuff down on a notepad for hours on end.
Wow.
So growing up in church, there was the poems for Easter, there was the poems for Christmas that we were required to read. As long as we knew how to read, we had to read one. So that was part of the influence, but definitely I would say my anger contributed to a great extent, because when I first started writing poems, they were kind of violent. It was just me talking about anything I had been subjected to growing up.
So it was therapeutic.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, cathartic. And I think we do encourage young people or anyone to journal, but yours came out in the way of poetry. Okay, so you brought some of your poetry with you today. So would you share?
Okay. So
Something with us?
can I read one or two?
Let's do one and let's talk about it, and then before we close, we'll have you to read the last one.
Okay. Okay. So the first one. Can I hold it?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the first one. This is really my backbone. This is the only poem that I'll read that I have not written, because it's the only handwriting I have left from my mom, because she is deceased.
Wow.
So, because she was very spiritual.
Well, so your mom wrote it.
She wrote it down on this paper.
Okay.
But this was actually a poem that she really loved.
Okay.
So if I can read that.
Sure.
Okay. So it's entitled If God Should Go on Strike. How good it is that God above has never gone on strike, because he was not treated fair in things he didn't like. If only once he'd given up and said, that's it, I'm through. I've had enough of those on earth, so this is what I'll do. I'll give my orders to the sun, cut off the heat supply, and to the moon give no more light, and run the oceans dry. Then just to make things really tough and put the pressure on, turn off the vital oxygen till every breath is gone. You know he would be justified if fairness was the game, for no one has been more abused or met with more disdain than God, and yet he carries on supplying you and me with all the favors of his grace and everything for free. Men say they want a better deal, and so on strike they go. But what a deal we've given God, to whom all things we owe. We don't care who we hurt to gain the things we like, but what a mess we'd all be in if God should go on strike.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, how old were you when you first saw that poem?
This has been in my house ever since I can remember.
Wow.
Yeah, she wrote this down a long time ago, because she would just sit at the table all day reading her Bible and drinking coffee.
Wow. So she taught you a lot about.
She did, behind closed doors, because actually my father was an atheist, so
Oh.
prayer was forbidden in my house.
Okay.
So whenever he would disappear, she'd lock us in the bathroom and read us Bible stories.
Wow. If you don't mind talking about your mom a little bit, how old were you when she passed?
I was 11.
Okay. And did she have a terminal illness?
She died from asphyxiation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that a domestic violence?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Amazing. Were you there?
I was there.
Did you witness it?
Mm-hmm.
Bless your heart. Wow. So, and you have two other siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And were they all?
We were all there.
Okay. So that's, and I assume that's why your father went to prison?
It is not why you'd think so, but no.
Wow.
Yes, he went to prison for pedophilia.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably tied in. That is so interesting. Actually, the guests that we were going to have before, actually two of the people that we were going to interview today that canceled out, both of them had their mothers were murdered. So, and I think when we talk about loss, people also sometimes have a stereotype that every child that's in the foster care system, that their parent is a drug addict, or has something else going on, and people never really know what comes into a child's life and what they've had to deal with. So that explains a lot of your, being depressed and things when you were in the care, you had lost. Now, did you go into care prior to that and come back, or did you?
No, I stayed in care the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, from after. Well, I was. It took about maybe 9 months after my mother's being deceased until I went into the system, because my father acted a certain way towards my sibling.
Okay.
And once that was known, that's when we got taken.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
after the death, we were still with him.
Wow. How did family respond to you, extended family?
None.
Wow.
None found out, because my father we kept moving. We would move every couple of years, and my mother was forbidden to contact any family, so they had to hunt for her.
Okay.
And not until it had been maybe 4 or 5 years after no contact did a great aunt step up and really do some research until she realized that she was dead. So
Wow.
yeah.
And that's something again, there's always more to talk about. I'm publishing a book for a young lady. I don't know if you got to check out the interview last night. And she talks about growing up in a home where there was domestic violence and sexual abuse by the biological father. And it's interesting because now she's studied social work and she's just finished her master's. And as from a social work perspective, she was able to talk about what are the patterns and behaviors of an abuser. And Yvonne is isolating, the person from any emotional ties, so they can escape. So, wow. Were you ever, like in growing up, because you said he was atheist, it sounded like he just had some real rigid behaviors and
he was a military man, so he was definitely
my gosh. Did you grow up afraid?
Very afraid.
That something like that would happen?
Well, that's why I loved school. That's why I still somehow am in school. And I have to attribute some of that to my father, because I hated to be at home. So that was the only other option, was to be at school.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a young lady said that years ago, and actually she's about 38 now, and I remember when she came to speak to one of our events, she said, no one ever figured out why she was always at school early, why she was always the last one at school, why she did every project and extracurricular activity to do, because she was avoiding being home, but nobody zoned into that.
Yeah.
So, not to say that everybody that loves school is, has something else going on, but that could have been an opportunity for someone to befriend you. That would have been a time to have a mentor or someone that you could have shared some things with. Right. So it's wonderful that you still have that you can hold close to your heart. Yeah. I'm hesitating because we hadn't gone to this part. I don't know how open you are.
I said I'm open to whatever, so you can go ahead.
Okay, to talk about that because somebody needs to hear this. I don't think it's a coincidence that all three people that we had scheduled for today had lost a parent through violence. And in our community, as the village, we often label our young people and talk about how wild they are, how whatever it is that we don't like about them. We never know what has gone on in a child's life. And that's why it's important that we stop yelling at, preaching at, and sometimes just listen. And when you're able to do that and a child finds out that they have someone they can talk to, you can find out many things and you can really get to the core of really what's in a child's heart. So I'm assuming that that's one of the times you went to therapy?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's soon after entering the system, that's when the therapy started.
Okay,
So, yeah.
and it was for the loss of
Yes.
your mom, but just in
Yes.
general.
Yeah, there was a lot of other things going on in my home too.
Okay, was that the abuse?
Yeah.
The sexual abuse?
And some other things too. There was some strange.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything you...
Okay, for example, there was a situation that occurred where my dad tried to castrate my brother. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So there was
Okay.
some strange things happening in the house.
And I think even just to say that, it's important. Because when we just say strange, we think strange, maybe like, just fluffy, strange things, just odd. But no, this is serious violations, serious things. We had the opportunity to sponsor a young woman who's actually a mother of children now to go to a conference on ritualistic abuse. And she was saying, she couldn't afford, so we sponsored her to go for one day, and there she said it was the first time that she could actually be with other people who understood when she talked about how horrific things go on. People just don't understand. People look normal on the outside, and people think they can tell, who's a molester, who's a pedophile, who's an abuser, who's, crazy and who's not, and they can't. So from all outside appearances, I'm sure no one knew any of that was going on.
Right.
Yeah. How's your brother?
He's fine. Very, very successful. 2 houses, 4 cars, family life, but our relationship is not the greatest. So.
Wow. Okay. Have you thought about writing a book?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talk to us when you get ready to do that, because I think everybody has a story and everybody, thinks, well, nobody knew this, nobody knew that. And it is healing to be able to talk about it without people looking at you you know, like, and a lot of times children would tell things and it's so out of the norm, people say they're making it up.
Right.
And that causes a child to shut down even more. Yeah. So I want to go back to your poetry, but I also wanted to talk about, you know, where you were first able to get that out, because to me that healing is so important. And so when you were writing and scribbling and doing things, that's where a lot of your voice, finding your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, it just kind of took me a long time, because I was kind of in the habit of crying a lot and trying to drink whatever I can shove down my throat to, you know, like poisons and stuff.
Okay.
Not so much alcohol, but just like, you know, just to try to numb it or something.
Yeah, and I do remember you saying in the previous interview that you were depressed and at point you were suicidal.
Yes.
How many attempts did you?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Wow. And were you hospitalized after?
I
each of
had
those?
been hospitalized a few times. One of the occasions in one of my placements, you know, my foster parent dealt with the situation without getting others involved. So she just watched over me for a long period of time.
Okay. Even that, what would you say to a foster parent? Because some people totally freak out and take their hands off of it. Some people try to cover it up like it's not a big deal. And it's a healthy balance in between. Each time that you made the attempt, which one did you get the most supportive response to?
I would say the one that occurred when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah, because some of the attempts were made when I was grown.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely during that time I did have a very sturdy foundation from the placement
Okay.
to assist me through that situation.
So how did they do that? Because there's somebody out there who needs to know what, I mean, of course, everybody's situation is different, every personality is different, but my thing is focusing on what worked for you. What did that person do?
Okay, I don't want to go into maybe too much specifics. It was very unorthodox, the fashion
Okay.
that they dealt with this in, but they pretty much tried to drill it into my head that that's not okay. That, you know, there's other options besides that, and they wanted to kind of get to the bottom of why.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but that did help temporarily. I'd have to say, because I did make a few more attempts after that. But yeah, it set me straight for a while.
Okay. What was the ongoing message, the inner message in your mind that when you would go to that dark place where you wanted to end it? What were you telling? What was going on in your head? What were you telling yourself?
Well, you know, first of all, I would definitely consider it to be an influence of Satan.
Okay.
You know, to make such radical negative choices that are detrimental on a permanent, even an eternal level. That's what I would say was the influence. But you know, just basically dwelling into more and more thoughts that become heavier and heavier. You know, darker and darker. Just focusing on every negative thing I could possibly think about. To the point where it was just like too much to take.
Okay. And my take when someone talks about suicide, both as an individual and as a therapist, but I think when someone said they never thought of suicide and everything, I said, but I think everybody has been at a place at some time in their life where they said, I don't want to live like this anymore. They may not say, I don't want to live, but that's usually the other part that's there, that you feel that nothing is going to change and that things are going to get worse, better, rather than better. And some people don't even think. They're just stuck at that point where they are at the moment. They don't even think about later. And I love the saying that's going around now that says, don't use a permanent solution to a temporary situation. And I think that's the disconnect there, that people feel that there is nothing better. There's nothing more. And having dealt with depression myself, I know, both spiritually that but it's a dark place. And so if you don't have any experience of having some brighter days. You don't see anyone around you who you've watched go from the bad to the good and go through those cycles. There's no hope. And that's the thing, we have to offer a sense of hope, but finding out what's going on. And so the reason I asked you that is because most times there's a negative message going on about who you are. You're never going to be anything, or you caused this to happen. And it's usually a negative statement about yourself and your relationship to the world. So that was why I was asking, because getting down to the core to me is the most important thing. How do we change? People say change your thinking, but underneath that thinking is also feelings that have come from somewhere. So I really, and I think this is a topic that we need to talk about, because some of our young people as well as older continue to deal with the depression, and I know that as you get older sometimes the depression deepens if it's not dealt with.
Right.
So that's just critical. And then, we do have people who are spiritually minded that will say, well, that's just of the devil, and they think they can just cast it out. Mm-hmm. And I think we're body, mind, soul, and spirit, in all aspects, of our beings have to be dealt with. Yeah, there's a spiritual component, but there's an emotional, sometimes there's a mental component too that's, out of balance, and then physically. So there's a lot. But through it all, as the old gospel song said, you've learned to trust in God. And so I understand that that's sort of the focus of a lot of your poetry now.
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to share another poem with us?
Okay, so this one I actually wrote.
Okay.
I read it earlier.
Okay.
It's called Even Still. And I wrote this a month ago.
Okay.
How flawed am I? How helpless is this? Don't cast that stone at me when you are the provider of a Judas kiss. I sin, I repent. I sin, repent again. 7 times 70, here I am forgiven, yet again. My imperfections in abundance, countless and never ending. Demons everywhere, forcibly submissive, descending. Angels on guard, truly heaven sent. Though their job I couldn't do, a resignation submit. When I'm all out of ideas and knowledge and appearance of what feels as if a mirage, to the truth only revealed to the militant eye, to the rest camouflage. This is grace, this is kindness, though I don't deserve. Even when I'm starving, I am fed, I am filled by the living word. Broken commandments are irrefutable. No lawyer speaking forward on behalf of the disputable. No denial intended, no rebuttal defended. My doubts, my fears, my lack of faith. But I have to remember, even still, God loves the sinner. It is the soul's act of sin for which he hates.
I love it. And that's the message we all need to know, that we are loved. Despite everything else that comes our way, despite everything that's, we do when we stumble and fall, we are forgiven. And that's a good thing to know, because there's redemption. And people believe that you mess up, it's totally over. And again, it's just a temporary situation. And my song, Donnie McCorky, we fall down, but we get up.
Okay.
So I appreciate your sharing that so much.
Given the nature of my background, it's made me more appreciative of, things that I come across that are positive in my life. Whether it's, a job, or whether it's graduating, or, it's certain things I do feel like, and even since I'm traveling out of the country, certain things people, when it's handed to them, it's taken so much for granted. But when you're actually working for it, when you're fighting for it, when you're the one striving for it, then you're far more appreciative. And things may seem very unequal, in comparison, because somebody may have a car that's so much better than your car, but you earned it, and theirs was just handed to them. So it's a large difference.
So
and
basically, value the grind, value
yes. Yeah, because maybe in another 15 years you might be having a mansion and somehow they hit rock bottom. Not that I wish that on anybody, but sometimes people have to learn. People have to learn that, materialistic things, they're great, but if you haven't earned it, you're never going to appreciate it. You can be the richest person in the world, and if you didn't work to earn that, that's not really your portion, and it can get taken away. So.
Exactly. So appreciate the hard work and the manifestation of that, because things just don't get handed. And don't be resentful of the person who does get it handed to them, because it may not last.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Awesome, awesome. So, in closing, do you have anything? Well, I guess that was your message. You were just looking at me. That was your message, to be able to value the work and attaining the things that you desire to do and to have.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
and then also just whenever you do have something, just be appreciative of even if you don't have anything, even if you're homeless, just keep yourself humble and open. If you're rich, be humble and open. If you're poor, be humble and open, because you never know when that situation can change.
Right.
You never know what type of blessings are around the corner. You just really never know.
Right. And it's the sense of hopelessness. And there's a lot of people who've gone through homelessness, and they're doing fine. And some people, I think, when you meet them and you don't know what's going on, and they have a more vibrant attitude, and people wonder, how can you go through that and still be smiling?
Yeah.
Because there's a sense of hope. And so that's our whole purpose. And that's why we do this program, is to offer, if you're a young person who's gone through some unfortunate circumstances in your upbringing, if you've been back and forth in the foster care system, or if even you're in your biological family, or if you feel like you're alone, this is to offer you a sense of hope. If you're an adult working with young people and you feel like, I'm throwing my hands up because it's not worth it, that soul, that life has been placed in your life for a reason. Don't give up. Don't give up. And take care of yourself as well. That's one of the things that I did not mention when you were talking about being a foster parent, having a good support system. Because it's difficult, and as my book says, it's hard work. But it's difficult as in hard, but it also requires heart. And sometimes it can make you feel like your heart is being snatched out. But there is hope. So do what you know to do. Seek strength. Know that we all have flaws, but we are loved, and share that love, spread that love, and do something special for a child's heart. We thank you, Ms. Ashley, for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Visit us at www.forachildsheart.org. You can email us at visions@forachildsheart.org. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Heavenly mothers crying, sees her children are dying at the hands of the other child. I know her heart is breaking, feel the earth is shaking, that rivers flow from the tears she cries. She cries, she cries, see Rachel's weeping for her children.